In outlining the suffering in our society, the Governor made clear the importance of the service he was officially opening today. In a dual duty, Rear Admiral Peter Sinclair launched the Hunter mission and a public appeal for its first major project, the establishment of a home for troubled youth, to be known as NBN House. The mission's director, David Hogg, says the home will accommodate up to 8 young people. He says the service is desperately needed in the Hunter.
And we're really looking at young people who have very much difficulty in dealing with life, and who find themselves homeless on the streets. And we want to launch a program where we can work with them to hopefully see a change in their lifestyle and their direction.
Donations for the home can be dropped into the mission's headquarters in King Street.
Premature babies like 3-day-old Scott, born at 25 weeks, can survive today with the help of Premature babies like 3-day-old Scott, born at 25 weeks, can survive today with the help of modern medicine. Only 8 to 10 years ago, he would have been left for dead. Just why babies like him are born far too early still eludes scientists. But researchers at the John Hunter Hospital may have some answers within the next 2 years.
We've been measuring a special hormone made by the placenta called CRH, and early studies here and elsewhere suggest that we might be able to use measurements of this hormone in pregnancy to predict those women that are going to deliver prematurely, so that treatment can be started earlier and be much more effective.
But for research to continue, these scientists need the community's help, the aid of a few hundred pregnant women to be exact.
We want to recruit about 2,500 pregnant women and take blood samples during pregnancy, 3 of them, one at 18 weeks, one at 24 and one at 28 weeks. Measure the samples there and see how effective this test is at predicting whether they're going to deliver prematurely.
If the survey proves successful, it's likely that a simple blood test could stop premature birth. It would save not only the millions of dollars spent on neonatal care, but also save millions of mothers the anguish of early birth.
They're almost as common as smoking itself. On billboards and at major sporting events, advertisements giving cigarettes the big sell. According to the latest findings of a New South Wales Cancer Council study, more than 90,000 school children in this state alone are smoking, with the Hunter accounting for about 1/10 of that number. And researchers Professor Stephen Leader and Newcastle University academic Annette Dobson assert many of the young have begun because they've been literally sold on the idea of smoking.
And our estimate for that is 25,000 children over the last 10 years have probably been influenced to take up smoking by cigarette advertising.
Teenage smokers spoken to today cited reasons other than being influenced by advertising for picking up the habit.
I have to say peer pressure at first, and then just a habit of doing it, and then just continued it.
I wanted to know what it was like to get addicted to something else other than breathing, stuff like that.
Did cigarette advertising have any influence on you?
No, not really. Just mainly friends, I think.
The study's findings have been released to coincide with the New South Wales Parliament preparing to debate a controversial bill to phase out tobacco advertising and sponsorship.
We wanted to ensure that politicians and the public were aware of the facts. And the facts are, and have been for a long time, that children are influenced by advertising, that reducing advertising may reduce children taking up smoking and hence getting a lifelong habit, which is very bad for their health.
State Transit and the Omnibus Union began talks this morning to try and reach an agreement over resting times for drivers. The union asserted relief times were inconsistent for its members and was threatening strike action unless an agreement could be reached. According to Dave Winwood from the union, the talks broke down after 6 hours when State Transit demanded that a resting time agreement could only be reached if discussions on a new workplace reform package could begin. Mr. Winwood says that was rejected because in light of the meeting, he believes the package would be a precursor to a major restructuring of Newcastle buses. He asserts the restructuring involves massive cuts, including no buses before 6 a.m. or after 10 at night during the week, and a third sliced off weekend services. The restructuring would also involve 35 drivers being made redundant. The manager of Newcastle Buses, Terry Garrett, says the restructuring plans are nothing new and the union would have been aware of them before today's meeting. As a result of the talks breaking down, all Newcastle government buses will be off the road for 24 hours on Friday of next week. Scott Bevan, NBN News.
The annals of local sports history will be open to celebrate the achievements of those who've battled their way to the top of the world arena. It's hoped famous sports people, past and present, will be honoured by induction to the Hall of Fame and that a permanent display of memorabilia will be set up.
We would have people, I guess, like the rugby league greats. I guess we're looking at Clive Churchill. We're looking at people like Jim DeCourcy, who've played cricket for Australia. You know, we'd be looking at perhaps younger people now, like Rachel McQuillan as a tennis player.
Members of the National Sporting Hall of Fame, such as Mark Richards, Ray Bartz and water skier Bruce Coburn, were considered for nomination at a meeting of administrators last night. About $20,000 is needed to establish a database to help the plan materialise.
Each sporting association will be assisting to a small degree, but there's a real need for corporate sponsorship, and I'm afraid that's the bottom line at the moment. We have so many great sporting people, you know, we can go back into the past, the Les Darcys of boxing, the great rugby league players of the 30s, there are just so many of them.
It's 13 months since Troy Waters has been in the ring, but he's still had plenty to fight for. His national title and a proud big brother in the corner. Both Waters and Queenslander Sang started at a furious pace, trading blows. But it was obvious Waters' defence was tight and the challenger wasn't scoring with his hits. Round 2 and Waters did not show any lack of fitness. The young fighter was growing in confidence and he chased Sang across the ring for a knockdown on the bell. Round 3 and Sang was in trouble. A cut had opened on his forehead and the champion was looking for a kill. The referee stopped the fight as Waters raided his opponent with punches. The previously unbeaten Queenslander could go no further. Peter Ryan, NBN News. The only locals happy at Carl Oval at Belmont today were the Seagulls. The Newcastle batting lineup didn't fire and a persistent North Coast attack gave their rivals nothing but trouble. Only Merlot, who scored 60, and Paul Dyson with 45 played anywhere near their potential. Newcastle struggling to 9 for 234 off the 50 overs. North Coast came in with a confident outlook. Only some brilliant fielding kept Newcastle in with a chance. Opening batsmen Higgins and Baldwin slaughtered the attack, Baldwin hitting 109. North Coast lost only 5 wickets to get the winning runs. Newcastle plays Western tomorrow, but they'll need a miracle to make the cup final.
Spectators took their seats to watch an unusual sight on the New England Highway this morning. 60 trucks, most of which transport goods around the country, travelled in convoy from Hexham to Newcastle. The rig of the year, driven by John O'Connor, led the way.
Generally, road transport happens at night time. People don't see their supermarket shelves getting restocked. They don't see the goods and services that trucks carry up and down the highways unless they're travelling interstate themselves. So we want to get the public involved and find out what the trucking industry is all about.
John O'Connor from the New South Wales country town of Glossodea knows what the industry is all about. He drives 4,500 kilometres a week between Sydney and Brisbane, delivering carbon black, a substance which is used to make tyres. But how does it feel to be driving the truck judged Rig of the Year?
It feels fantastic. It's really great. It's probably the first thing I've ever won in my life, I think.
Irish Drover is John's second home. It's equipped with a telephone, a fax, a bed and a TV to make it easier to cover long distances. Jane Anderson, NBN News.
Okay, see you back at the house at 12:30 in time for the barbecue. Don't forget all the lucky door prizes. On your way!
Last year, organisers raised $12,000. They hope to do the same again this year.
As seems to be the case each year, the holiday between one football season and the next is shortening, and the Newcastle Knights are in full swing of their build-up for 1992, probably the most crucial year in the club's brief history.
We're travelling at 4 compulsory sessions a week, which is Monday, Wednesday, Friday and the Saturday morning. They're still doing a strength and an aerobic session themselves on their own, and we pull up on the 20th of December. We're back with the infamous Black Butt run on the 5th of January, the Sunday the 5th of January, and we'll go 4 sessions a week again all the way through to the 1st of February when we play our first trial against Eastern Suburbs here.
Injuries and off-field dramas dramatically hampered the Knights' charge towards the top of the Winfield Cup this year, but a whole new attitude has swept through the club, shown by the determined and wholehearted performance at training yesterday morning. And to further enhance the newfound harmony within the ranks, the coaching staff have become a team.
There's no specific assistant first grade coach or reserve grade coach or 21 coach, and the same with the conditioning staff. So basically we meet pretty often and we toss around the ideas, and we've got a pretty happy team at the moment.
Also with a new lease of life, former Kiwi international James Goulding. According to David Waite, the game has changed in James's favour, and his desire to succeed has seen the Knights sign the powerhouse forward.
The coaches have been saying that, and I have been in limbo for a couple of years, and it's just another opportunity, and I'll see how we go.
The start of the season may still be some time off, but you get the feeling the smiles are genuine.
This is the fittest we've been medically since we started the competition some 4 years ago. So things are slow and steady at the moment. A bit warm for them to play today, but they're travelling all right.
An Aussie Sports Expo organised by the Catholic Diocese of Maitland and the Department of Sport and Recreation gave 300 primary students a chance to pick up a bat, ball, hockey stick or soft cross racket. Many are from smaller schools that normally don't offer a wide variety of codes. With enthusiasm on their side, that proved no handicap. They were all over and under the ball, eager to show some of the state's top junior development coaches how they could play. Newcastle Breakers players, along with senior school helpers, kept the ball rolling over 6 modified group sports, aimed at skills development and having fun. The Board of the State Rail Authority finalised its requirements for the supply and maintenance of 80 coal hauling locos at a meeting in Sydney today. The specifications will not be disclosed until the government announces a preferred tenderer for the $500 million job. 3 groups remain in the hunt: Clyde Engineering in Sydney, Ganinin and an American company specialising in reworked heavy haulage locos. The American bid raised the ire of the Chamber of Manufacturers, which foresees local skilled workers and job opportunities being bypassed.
I think that the American tender should not be considered because it's second-hand rebuilt equipment.
A spokesman for the State Rail Authority emphatically denied second-rate equipment would be considered. Ganinin General Manager John Fitzgerald isn't convinced. His company would enter into a joint arrangement with General Electric to build 80 new locos in 18 months. The work would create 450 new jobs and a 15-year follow-up maintenance contract.
The outlook is for rain to continue until Sunday, but even then we're unlikely to see restrictions on fixed sprinklers lifted. The Water Board says combined storage levels are still below 60% and restrictions will continue to apply until that reaches 70%. While supply has shown little change, demand has been affected by the rain. During the last 24 hours, the board supplied 172 million litres of water in the region, 100 million litres less than the day before when it wasn't raining. According to the board, this indicates what can be saved if people don't have to water their gardens. For farmers, the situation is showing little improvement. While the rain is encouraging, there is still a long way to go before we see the end of the drought.
"100 years, 4 sons, 12 grandchildren and 26 great-grandchildren on, Gladys Jones sat back to enjoy a happy family gathering. She grew up on a pioneering land selection at Comboyne, north of Tyre, married and was awarded a motherhood medal for raising 4 boys. 2 were killed in New Guinea during the war. Gladys received telegrams from the Queen, the Governor-General and Premier. She also came in for special attention from the City Council.
The Newcastle Showground Trust admits a facility like this has been desperately needed in the Hunter for years. But by February, the 5,000-seat entertainment centre will be ready for use.
We'll bring the top entertainers, top exhibitionists, top sportsmen for sports events to this area. Prior to this, of course, we had to travel to Sydney and other centres to see all these things.
The Newcastle Falcons will use the centre as their base, playing their first home game on April 4. Entertainment spectaculars like Disney on Ice and Torval and Dean are also suggested for shows. The $11 million project began just 9 months ago, and the Showground Trust is already planning for an 80% booking rate.
A couple of hundred tyres line the road between Kitchener and Quarrabillong in Cessnock. The council believes the tyres were thrown from a moving vehicle on Tuesday night. Workers today began the expensive clean-up operation. Lincoln Hawkins estimates it will cost the council about $5,000 to collect and dispose of the tyres.
No doubt, despite the rain today and a bushfire season, this would be an increased hazard, and that's one of the reasons we've had to act immediately.
The council has offered a $1,000 award for information which leads to a successful prosecution.
I think the message we really need to make to tyre outlets, retailers and trucking dealers is that they need to put the disposal of their tyres into the hands of responsible people and know where it's going and ensure that it's getting to the shredders and to final disposal where it should be.